Hi, welcome to a new episode of Potation Rotation, and today I've been waiting almost all year to do this episode. It's the Back to the Future 35th anniversary episode. Uh, but before we get going, drinking a Coors Banquet today. So, anybody that has watched this channel, going back to my top 10 movie lists of all time, knows that Back to the Future, the original Back to the Future, is on that list. Won't get into great details about it. You can just go and find that video a few months back. And I think it's like a well-rounded film. Like from start to finish, it is nearly a perfect film. Um, as far as the trilogy goes, the entire trilogy is my favorite trilogy of all time. It's just all three films are. If I were to take any kind of film series and have a rank of film series, whether it's like horror or it's action adventure or anything that had a series, sci-fi, Back to the Future is number one. The trilogy is number one. Um, So there were some exciting things that happened this year, and I wanted to release this video on this date. The dates are kind of like all over for Back to the Future. I kind of want to pick this date because even though October 21st is like the official Back to the Future day, that's like when he travels back in time. That's when he travels to 2015. I think they picked that back in 2015 for both the 30th anniversary of the first film and the anniversary date of the second film, October 21st. But time travel actually first happened on October 26th, 1985, according to that film. That is when both Einstein and Marty used the DeLorean for the first time. So this date's a little bit closer. I mean, it's the 27th. So I'm like one day off, but it would have been nice if the 26th would have fallen on a Tuesday, but whatever. So 27th is we're going to get as close to what we can with it. So, if you've noticed, before I made changes down here, I do have like an autographed. I wouldn't say it's one of a kind. It's unique to my city. Back to the Future poster autographed by Christopher Lloyd. When I went and got the chance to meet him and hear him talk about Back to the Future when he was here in town. I just love Back to the Future. I mean, it's just, like I said, it's one of my favorite film trilogies of all time. So as far as like collecting though, I'm like not like a huge collector of like anything except for maybe the amiibos that I've got back there. Not a huge collector of things. I like getting some things here and there. But as far as like the films go, Back to the Future is really the only film series that every time there's some kind of new release that comes out, I buy it. So, I've started with the VHS tapes when they came out and then moved to DVD. And I think I had the individual DVDs, and then there was like a collector's set of DVDs, and then the Blu-ray, and then there was like a collector's set of the Blu-ray. It's the most recent Blu-rays that came out, probably 5 years ago now. But now, for the 35th anniversary, they released the Ultimate Trilogy in 4K, and so this is like my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like six. I don't know, six. You guys can count back 6 or 7 times that I've upgraded the films. So it's called the Ultimate Trilogy, and let me just. It's probably easier just to read the back of it. So it's 4 times sharper than full HD, with HDR for brighter, deeper, more lifelike color. Anybody that has a HDR 4K television realizes that. Experience one of the most popular movie series of all time like never before with Back to the Future, the Ultimate Trilogy. Join Marty, Doc, and a time-traveling DeLorean for the adventure of a lifetime as they, well, you all know all that stuff. Loaded with bonus features. Over 1 hour of all new bonus features. The Hollywood Museum goes back to the future. Join co-writer, producer Bob Gale on an intimate tour of an exhaustive exhibit of the film's props and memorabilia. Back to the Future, the musical, behind the scenes, which I'm hoping I get to see that at some point in my life. You know, fucking COVID. Get a sneak peek at the new musical show, including a Q&A with the cast, the creative team, plus 2 new song recordings. An alternate future lost audition tapes. So if anybody's been online lately, that's where you've seen like maybe some news stories or snippets or video clips of like Ben Stiller, and of course everybody knows about Eric Stoltz. They came off this. So get a glimpse of Back to the Future. That could have been with rare audition footage featuring now famous celebrities. Could you survive the movies Back to the Future? Explore the magic and science of Back to the Future and find out which laws of physics were actually violated in this special episode of the popular YouTube series. Plus, Tales from the Future 6-part documentary, The Physics of Back to the Future, deleted scenes, Michael J. Fox Q&A, 8 archival featurettes, behind-the-scenes footage, music videos, audio commentaries, Back to the Future The Ride, which for me is like the best ride I've ever been on, and it's a damn shame it doesn't exist anymore because it was fantastic, and I rode that probably like 30 years ago, and it was so good. It was so good. I'd never forget that ride. Doc Brown Saves the World short film, Out of Time, Restoring the DeLorean, and much more. So let's, I'm just going to pop it open real quick. I unwrapped it. This is the first time I'm actually opening it. So it's got this nice little book here. It almost looks like a book, I should say. Hardcover. You open it up, and it's got all the years he's traveled to. It's got 1885, 1955, 1985, and 2015, chronological order. Then you turn it, and you got Back to the Future. You built a time machine out of a DeLorean. So here we've got, on the left, we've got, it looks like the film with the 4K. That's just what it looks like. It just looks like the film. It's got the poster on it, and it says it's 4K. So what's the disc on the right? Disc on the right it's the Blu-ray version. So that seems to be typical. When you buy 4K, you get a Blu-ray. Just like back in the day, you used to buy a Blu-ray and you get a DVD in it too. Plus a digital download. Back to the Future Part 2. We got the 4K disc on the left, and I'm assuming the Blu-ray on the right. Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. That's what it says there. It does say that the discs, both discs, do have all these different features on them, and it's very detailed. It says right on the right hand side of the cardboard page what exactly this contains. So then now we got part 3. Your future is whatever you make it. The discs on each side with the bonus features. Here's the download. Tell you what, I'm going to give this to somebody. The Back to the Future trilogy. First person who redeems this at universalredeem.com, trilogy is yours. U8C661C3TJ125KDR2. universalredeem.com. First person that actually gets to this point in this video. The trilogy is yours digitally. Now here's a bonus disc. And the bonus disc is just Blu-ray. It's not 4K. 2015, you mean we're in the future? So the bonus disc, this particular disc says Hollywood Museum goes back to the future, Back to the Future musical, behind the scenes, alternate future, lost edition tapes. Could you survive the movies, Back to the Future, 2015 message from Doc Brown, Doc Brown saves the world, Out of Time, restoring the DeLorean, looking Back to the Future, Back to the Future, the animated series, Season 1, Episode 1, and Season 2, Episode 1. So you get 2 animated series episodes. And 2015 commercials, Jaws 19 trailer, and a Hoverboard commercial. So, action-packed. Got probably a full day's worth of stuff to watch here with the Ultimate Trilogy. Now, as far as the story goes, as with any film series, any film, I mean, there's plot holes, there's things that haven't been explained, and maybe some things that people that made the films didn't think that the audience would have questions about. But Back to the Future, there's questions. I mean, the most recent one has been, of all the clocks in Doc Brown's garage in the opening scene of Back to the Future, what's with the Denver Broncos one? Like, that's the only one that's kind of like out of place. It's got like a logo, you know, it kind of advertises something. And they just said recently it was just random. It means nothing. However, there is these comic books that came out from IDW. And they are canon. They are part of the story. Bob Gale did have his hand in writing these. Now, these are the collections of every of these single issues. Now, before I get into it, I'll just tell you right offhand, you can find most of these on IDW's website. However, you're also going to be able to find some of these for cheap elsewhere. For the entire collection and this Untold Tales and Alternate Timelines Back to the Future #1 comic book, it was a mix between IDW, Amazon, and eBay. That's how I was able to collect everything for the cheapest price. I think everything ended up being like under $100 or something. So you can go online and figure this stuff out, but it's canon, and it kind of like it's kind of like a continuing. There's different things going on. There's some stories that continue. There's some stories that give you deeper detail into goings on that happened off screen, so to speak, like what was Biff up to with the almanac in 1955 exactly, and you kind of get to see what's going on with that, or like it answers the question, why didn't Marty see the DeLorean before the parking lot at Twin Pines Mall, you know? And there's an answer to that in the comics. And where did Doc Brown get all his money for 2015? He had that briefcase full of money. He had to get that somewhere. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but let's just say he's a hypocrite. So, so we've got, and this is a collection. This is the Back to the Future Untold Tales and Alternate Timelines, book #1. And let's see if I can, I don't know if it actually says what it collects. Originally published as Back to the Future issues numbers 1 through 5. Okay, so that collects, and they're all over the place because there's like a mainline series, and then there's these like sub-series or shoot-offs that you'll see too. So this collects issues 1 through 5 of the mainline. Then we've got book #2, Back to the Future, Continuum, Conundrum. All right, that's book #2. And this collects Back to the Future issues numbers 6 through 11. And then we got Back to the Future, Who is Marty McFly? This is book #3. And this one collects issues, Back to the Future issues numbers 12 through 17. And it can get complicated when you try to look these up, because then they're like broken down into like sub-stories, you know? So even though it says it collects issues 1 to 17, there's like, they kind of considered the issues as parts. kind of like the movies, parts 1, part 2, part 3. So you actually have like different parts within each book. So even though it collects a certain issue number within the actual collection, then the parts start over. So like basically what I'm trying to say is issue number 12 is actually part 1, for example, in the book. It took me a long time to try to figure out what I was doing to make sure I can collect everything without getting doubles, because it was confusing. I'm not gonna lie. It was kind of confusing. So this is Back to the Future collection number 4 called Hard Time, and this actually lets you know a little bit more about Jailbird Joey. So we've got issues numbers 18 through 21 in that one, and then the final collection is book 5, Time Served. And this collects issues 22 through 25 of Back to the Future. And like I said, then, and this was from this came from IDW. I ordered some things as a set. There was like an ultimate set. And this came with it. This is the Back to the Future Untold Tales and Alternate Timelines. But this is basically Back to the Future number 1, 2015 reprint. It's kind of just like a collector's thing. And when I say like a send back, I'm like to like the old fashioned sci-fi comic book covers going on there. All right. Or a callback. Callback? Send back? I don't know. Whatever. So now this is one of the side stories. This is Back to the Future Citizen Brown. And this one collects Citizen Brown issues 1 through 5. I think most of these side stories were only 5-issue like miniseries comics. So the side stories are kind of like just that. Like there's the main line, and the main line kind of like continues or gives you like answers to questions you might have and stuff like that. And so this one is when an empty DeLorean suddenly shows up in 1986, Marty McFly quickly learns that his friend Doc Brown is stranded in 1931 and possibly in mortal danger. Now it's up to Marty to return to the past once again to save Doc in the space-time continuum. So this is like a whole new, completely different like story. And then here's Biff to the Future. It's like Biff's whole story. You can see on the back, he's got the sports almanac. And in the front, he's obviously, it's alternate. So this is basically Biff's adventure, beginning with the sports almanac. That's the best way of putting it. And this collects probably 1 through 5 of his. The page is in black with dark blue print. It's very hard to read. 1 through 4. So Biff to the Future had 4. And Jurassic Biff originally published in Back to the Future number 3. So then it actually does pull part of the story from the 3rd issue of the main line. And then we got Back to the Future Tales from the Time Train. So there's like a whole nother alternate story starting in 1893. What was Doc Brown up to after they left Marty and Jennifer on the train tracks when the time train took off? And this one collects Tales from the Time Train issues numbers 1 through 6. So if you want more Back to the Future and it's canon and get some of your questions answered, maybe not all of them, those are great books. Those are great books. Now, one of the things that came with the Ultimate Trilogy was this hoverboard. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't know how big it was going to be. I'm not going to lie, I thought it was going to be a bigger hoverboard. But came with this hoverboard, and You know, it's on a magnet, uh, limited edition. I don't know how many of these were available, but I remember when I first got it and I opened it up and I put this on here. Like, it's got to be like put so specifically in the middle because it will just fly right off the side. I don't even want to like. I don't know if I want to show you that. Yeah, see, I put it there, and it won't stay. So, um, but you know, it's kind of cool. Little cool collector's piece. This hoverboard just hovering, magnets, bitch. So, and if you like just go like that, it's just gonna fly right off. So yeah, it's good quality. It's nice and thick, and it's colorful. It's missing the Mattel logo. But other than that, I mean, it's a cool little collector's piece. So one last thing I wanted to show you guys that I own that is Back to the Future related is the Back to the Future Ultimate Visual History, and it is hardcover. I got it this year, but I think it's been out for a few years now. Um, but I got it this year. I think I got it for like $40 or something like that. I don't know, but it's really a good book. If you want like all these behind the scenes photographs and some like stuff that's handwritten about the history of the film. Also comes with forwards by Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd and Bob Gale, and there's an afterword by Robert Zemeckis in the back. But it breaks down each film one by one, starting with part one, going through to part three. Tells like all the backstories. It's got copies of like this is a copy of the script. And that's a reproduction of a drawing of what the flux capacitor would look like, storyboards, and it's like that for all the films. And then they've got like real cool little things going on, like a Save the Clock Tower copy of the newspaper from the first film, and the tardy slip that Strickland gives to Marty. It says Slacker on it. Copy of Marty's note to Doc, not to open until '85, about the assassination. Cool stuff. And now we're in like part two, and here's no, not part two yet. I wanted to show you guys something though. Let's see if I can find it in here. It should be. Maybe I didn't pass it yet. It was loose, and I kind of like stuck it back to the page. Yeah, maybe I haven't gotten to it yet, but here's a picture from the dance. Anyway, if I don't find it, because it looks like we're getting towards the end of part one here. That's part two already. There's a photograph, and when you move it, Marty's brother and sister start disappearing, and it's kind of like a postcard stock quality photograph. It's kind of cool. So that's in there. Now we're in part two. Here's the sports almanac. There's a Biff $1 bill. There's also a receipt in here somewhere. Here it is. Blast from the Past receipt when the almanac was purchased. So it is really, really a cool book. It shows you here that the DeLorean for the close-up flying scenes was actually attached to like a forklift type device. So really cool. If you're really interested in this kind of stuff, if you're really interested in Back to the Future, this should be right up your alley. It's a great coffee table book too. So Jaws 19 poster, full poster. But I could hang it up, but I'm not going to. Actually, what's on the... Is there anything on the other side? I never opened it up completely. No, it's blank. So there you go. The Back to the Future Ultimate History. Now the last and final thing, and we're going to get a close-up of this too. This just came out. In fact, I just got it delivered as of this recording. And this recording was just a couple days ago. This Back to the Future Ultimate Marty McFly figure. Part of a 35th anniversary collection. you got the original Marty from Back to the Future. You've got a Tales from Space Marty. You've got the 2015 Marty, and there's a Biff Tannen from 1955. So collect all four. This is the one that I decided to buy, the OG Marty from 1985. And we're going to go ahead and take a closer look at this down there. All right, so here we got the Marty McFly figure. You open it up, a little light glare there, but I mean the box is real cool, except that like with most things, the box that was external for the Ultimate Trilogy kind of came damaged, but that's all right because I only cared about what was in the inside. And once I took the hoverboard out, it was kind of pointless to have it anyway. This box, well, I mean, I'm going to open him up, so I'm not going to need the box anymore. I'm going to save the box, but this came from Best Buy, and this came dented as well. But as you can see here, we've got the camcorder. We've got Marty McFly with shades. We got an electric guitar. We got Marty himself. Kind of a surprised look on his face. The backpack, some different hands there. One looks like holding a guitar pick, and we got a skateboard. Detail looks pretty good, but let's go ahead and open him up. Okay, so I got him open. Now, just a word of warning. The twist ties that are inside the package are not only twisted, but they are also literally tied. So they got them tied like shoelaces. They're like twisted, then tied, then twisted, and yeah, it's probably best that you just probably get something to cut it open with. So here's Marty, and the detail is quite phenomenal, actually. It's actually really good. Everything from the folds and the ripples in his jeans, to the seams in his pockets, to the creases in his vest here. He just jumped ship. Yeah. So let's see. He's articulated kind of at the knees, but not really. They bend not so much. They do bend, but not so much. So don't try to force it. I mean, it looks like this could come off, but it doesn't, which is kind of a cool little detail. Kind of doesn't bend really at the arms either. He's got articulation points, but they just don't really do much of anything. And then he is kind of hunched over. That's a little weird. Can't really bend the head back or anything like that. So let's see how this works. So I take it you just pop the head off. Well, you should be able to just pop the head off. Can't pop it off. There we go. I mean, I don't want to break them, you know. Put the sunglasses head on. He's not that hunched over with this head on. Maybe I don't have it on all the way. Okay. And the backpack. Let's get this backpack going here. Put it on maybe like this. Yes. I don't remember which side he had it on, but that's the only side that really goes on anyway, because that's where the strap is. So we got the backpack on. He does have holes at the bottom of the feet in case you want to stand him up in something. I don't know what. The skateboard, does it have a... No, there's something... there's like a picture of him like standing on the skateboard, kind of. And his knee is bent. It's like this knee. Like this. They got the picture. It looks like legit, like really good. But I can't. It would have been nice if maybe they put something for the skateboard to go into his foot. It's a shame that they didn't, but they should have. guess that's going to be my only gripe, because I would like him to maybe... He is bending a little bit more when I force him to. Like, it would have been cool just to have him stand up like that or something, right? But, you know, oh well. His hands, you know what? I don't care much about how this looks. I'm going to strap the guitar to his back, too. I think you're only supposed to do one or the other. But maybe around his neck. Wait, maybe like this. It's like a real guitar. Okay, so now he's got the guitar on as well, the backpack. Because I want this to be all like, you know, one thing if possible. Let's take this hand off carefully. Okay, so it should just pop right out of here. And it's not, and I'm afraid I'm going to break it. I mean, it's not easy to get these out of here. Okay, you know what? That's cool. I am not going to risk breaking his arm or his hand off. He's got like a holding hand here. It looks like if I take this off, the watch is going to go with it, though. We'll just give him the camcorder. Like that. Looks kind of stupid. Yeah, this, I think you need one of these hands. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what that hand's for. Or the other one, maybe. Doesn't matter. They're both the same. They're both the same, really. Shit. I'm going to see if I can pop this off, like off screen here. Alright, so I was able to get both his hands off. It took a lot of... I mean, I was scared. I'm not going to lie. I was making a lot of plastic squeezing. I got both his hands off, so I can see that's 15 now. I got his grabbing hand. And in fact, it took so much force that the backpack and the guitar actually flew off. So now I can put the camcorder, hopefully, in his hand, and it'll stay. And it's kind of an awkward pose, I guess. But I want to have him with the most things, because this is going to sit on my shelf, and it ain't going to move, you know. So I want him to have everything. This is still an awkward hold. And it looks like the camcorder should clip into his hand here. There we go. I mean, that looks kind of ridiculous, actually. But I don't think there's a good way for him to hold it, except for maybe like that. Maybe that looks a little bit better when he's holding it down. So yeah, there we go. So that's how I'm going to keep him. I'm going to keep that head off. I think he looks cool with the glasses. I'm going to put his decapitated head and his hands aside. And that's how he's going to go on my shelf. The backpack stays on. Now the backpack doesn't want to stay on since it flew off. And actually the guitar, I had to like prop the guitar strap underneath here because that wouldn't stay on now either. So he's going to go on my shelf. I'll figure out how I can make him stand. But he'll go there with the hoverboard. And yeah, I mean, this was like 30 bucks, I think, at Best Buy. If you can't pick it up, have it delivered. I'm probably not going to collect the rest of them. I'm happy with this. If there was a Doc Brown, I probably would. But yeah. Yeah, this is freaking great. So this is as far as I go with Back to the Future, collecting Back to the Future stuff. Is this toy, the comics, I guess the hoverboard that came with it. I mean, that's the most Back to the Future stuff that I've had, and that all just came this year. So yeah, so that's going to do it. That's my Back to the Future 35th anniversary episode. Again, I mean, if you haven't seen the films, there's something wrong with you. You're not living. You're ridiculous. Get out there and see those films. So that's going to do it for today. And of course, I highly suggest that everything that I talked about today, the toy and the comics and the Ultimate Trilogy 4K, if you've got that television, see if you can get the one with the hoverboard and buy all that shit. Buy it all. Come on, I know you got the money. Buy it all. Is this head? This head's on real nice and tight now, too. All right, guys, that's going to do it. So if you like the video, go ahead and click that like button. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends. And we're going to see you guys later.